a year of tears, triumphs, purpose, and divine restoration. Tonight, we look back on the episodes that shaped us, stretched us, and reminded us that God can turn any breaking point into a breakthrough. Welcome to the Invisible but Powerful Show, Year in Review.
Welcome to Invisible but Powerful, where heart, soul, and spirit intertwine. This show is about sharing stories of faith, resilience, and transformation to inspire you to uncover, unlock, and unleash the incredible potential God has placed within you. Now, let's get ready for real talk and heart-to-heart conversations on the Invisible but Powerful Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode, our Year in Review episode of the Invisible but Powerful Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Kiner, and I'm also an author, entrepreneur, and founder of IBP Ministries. I'm so excited to present our final episode, our finale, entitled Invisible but Powerful, a year of healing, hope, and restoration. This year has been nothing short of life-changing. Episode after episode, women came onto this platform and opened up their hearts, shared their pain, stood in their truth, and reminded us that healing is possible and hope is real. This show was birthed from my devotional book, Invisible but Powerful. But you all, the stories, the tears, the testimonies, you made it a ministry from the audience to every participant. This year, the Invisible but Powerful Show released 12 incredible episodes. Each one carried its own message, its own breakthrough, and its own moments of God's power. But when we look back at what resonated most deeply with the audience, there were 6 episodes that stood out above the rest. They sparked conversations, they brought people to tears, and stayed with viewers long after the episode ended. So tonight, we revisit the moments that touched our hearts the most, and the episodes that made us laugh, cry, heal, and breathe again. We opened this year with Gail's powerful message, New Year, New You. It was a reminder that change to get fit and healthy starts with shifting your mindset. Immediately after Gail's message of renewal, the year took a deeper turn as we talked about addiction with Gloria and Lucille, 2 courageous women who bravely shared their battles with addiction and their incredible journeys to freedom. Let's begin with Gloria. Her realization that you have to want to change became a pivotal message that touched women who were fighting silent battles and reminded them that healing, deliverance, and transformation begin with willingness. Let's take a look.
What was the message that happened after? What's the message that you shared with others as you continued on in being free from that?
We said that Shockley was telling the testimony also, is that you have to have faith, you got to believe. I said Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Mm.
And we said, if you call on Jesus and you believe that he is and that he can help you and set you free, then it was just that easy. And I make you laugh. I had the cigarette, and before you get it, Jesus, 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 Jesus. But I said, how am I going to do this in public? How am I going to do this at the job? Now I'm a fast, and here come all the food. And after I eat, I want a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? What am I doing? Jesus, Jesus. He said, no, all inwardly. And it worked. It worked. I just kept calling Jesus. I stand around the crowd of people that's smoking and try to do that. He said, no. He said, go in the other direction. You can't do that. I'm still trying different things, trying to get to them cigarettes. No. He said, you really have to want to change.
You really have to want to change. That's really interesting. You have to want this.
And then came Lucille's unforgettable turning point, the scared straight moment that woke her up and shifted her entire path. Take a look.
And 2 months later, that's when I found myself almost overdosing off of 8 ball of pure 99% pure cocaine.
And that was going to be my next question, because you talked about
Your
Yeah,
scared straight
I
moment.
had that scared straight moment because
What
I
what
smoked so much coke that night that I knew that, and my body had a complete freeze, and my heart was beating like, and I knew if I laid down, I would die. And I got down on my knees that night and I said, Lord, if you let me live through this night. And he let me live through that night. And that was reality at its rawest for me, you know, because I'm telling you, that was a Friday night, that Saturday morning, what if?
mm,
Not only would I have killed myself, I would have killed 4 young men. And it would have been, my family would have took care of them, that's for sure. But they would have always had that stain of, yeah, your mother would overdose on drugs, your mother was a drug addict, this, that, and other. Can you imagine? That's like
mm,
they wouldn't be who they are now if he hadn't allowed me to die.
Two women, two turning points, one truth. God will shake you to wake you, but He won't force your transformation. You must choose it. You must be willing to change. Next, we stepped into the raw and sacred territory of grief. In finding love after loss, Tina shared her journey of 7 miscarriages, the sudden loss of her husband, and the battle to rebuild her life again. But what makes Tina's story one of the most powerful episodes is what God did next. Tina became a mother, not in the way that she once imagined, but through a beautiful, unexpected path of fostering 2 boys. One of them chose her as his mother, and then God restored her heart again through love. Tina found the courage to leap into a new chapter, allowing God to write a part of her story she never saw coming. Take a look.
so how long has it been? Because I know we're kind of wrapping up
Okay.
this thing because we're now at where you're finding love again.
Yeah.
So
I do want to share one thing, and,
yeah,
and then I'll talk about where we are now.
yeah,
But where the Ready Set Leap comes from.
yes.
So I was afraid to really move on. Right. I was
Mm,
still wearing my wedding rings. It was, it was hard. It was something that I didn't want to do. But I didn't think it was fair to him if I'm going out with him, but I'm really not committing because my heart is still with Ellis. And
mm,
so I was scared. Um, and that summer, it was in July, so I met him in May. So in July, we had a youth conference, and in the conference, there was a speaker, Crystal Clay, Pastor Crystal Clay, and she preached a sermon called Ready, Set, Leap. And she described what it takes to leap. And
mm,
so she said, first step to leaping is you got to decide you no longer want to be where you are. Then you need to bend down. And then she said in prayer, in parentheses, you need to push off from anything that's, holding you there. And she said, and it might hurt. It might be a lot of pressure for you to push off, but you need to push off. And then you need to take the leap, and you need to, you know, get to where you're going. You need to leave the things behind that are holding you back, and you need to move forward. And then when you look back, you've made it. You're there. And so right after that sermon, I drove up to his house, and and he was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, I got to tell you something that just happened." And I shared the whole sermon with him and what the story and what happened. And then I said, "I'm not giving these to you, but I'm letting you know." And I took my rings off, that I'm ready to take the leap with you. And I sat my
oh,
rings on the table.
how did he
So
react to that?
he was like, "Wow." He said, "Are you sure you're ready to do that? That's kind of heavy." And I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to take the leap." So we've been together now 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in May. Um,
Wow. Wow. It's been, yeah, you're right. It has
yeah,
been because it was your 50th
it was
birthday.
my
Oh,
50th birthday.
wow.
So it's been, and we're enjoying getting to know each other.
Tina's courage, her transparency, and her quiet strength touched thousands. This episode helped so many rediscover hope. Then came one of the most personal episodes of the year. My own story in the episode, I lost my mother and almost lost myself. In this emotional episode, I talk about a moment where the weight of grief finally broke through the surface. And I accepted the moment and finally admitted that I wasn't okay. But how God met me, He met me right there and birthed a ministry out of my pain. Take a look at this short clip.
And I want to share a moment I haven't talked much about before. So it was quiet, and I was just looking at pictures and thinking about my mother and all that happened in 2004. And I just broke down crying. I was in a dark place. I had no energy. I had no desire to pray. But at that moment, I felt God surrounding me. And that's when God continued to minister to me for months about how I was chosen and how I needed to redirect my pain into words that would encourage and that would empower other women who are struggling. That's how Invisible but Powerful was born. It's not just a book. And this is not just a show. This is a movement. This is about healing. It's about restoration. It's about empowerment. Let me share a final passage from my testimony that reveals how God didn't let me go and the mission that He entrusted me with on the other side of grief. To this day, I continue to have no fear of death, but I now look at it through a different lens and from a different perspective. I know that according to Philippians 1:21, to live is Christ and to die is gain. And I continue to live until my life's goal is complete. My life goal is to utilize my God-given talents to do what I've been called to do, to inspire and to invoke transformational change in every person God brings in my life. I look forward to that moment in time when I do leave this earth and I hear the voice of God saying, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." That is what gives me the strength and the power to press on every day to do what I have been called to do. You see, grief didn't destroy me. It actually refined me. That moment didn't mark the end of me. It actually cracked something open. And in that quiet breaking, restoration began to unfold.
Oof, that episode was not easy for me, but it showed the heart of Invisible but Powerful, that every woman, even the strong ones, have a breaking point, but also a breakthrough. And when life collapses all around, God doesn't just put us back together. He reveals the greatness in us long before the pain. Before we continue, I want to introduce the book that started all of this, including this show. It's a book combined with testimonies for women walking through hidden battles, silent struggles, and God-led breakthroughs. But it's also a book with devotional lessons designed to give inspiration, hope, and strength. Take a look at this promo.
Have you ever felt like life's challenges have left you searching for hope? Invisible but Powerful isn't just a devotional. It's a lifeline for women navigating their toughest moments. Filled with heartfelt stories, scriptures, and reflections, this book is inspiring women to rediscover their strength and faith. It's time to uncover your inner strength, unlock your potential, and unleash a life filled with purpose. Scan the QR code now or go to Amazon.com to purchase and begin your journey today. You don't have to face life's challenges alone. Let Invisible but Powerful guide you every step of the way.
Welcome back to the Invisible but Powerful Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Kiner, with a final year in review episode entitled Invisible but Powerful, a year of healing, hope, and restoration. From the valley of grief, we moved into a new kind of courage, the courage of two mothers, Tanya Manning Yard and Tina Steele. In the episode Mothering Extraordinary Children, Tanya and Tina opened their hearts as they shared the joys and battles of raising their sons of special needs and the advocacy required when your child needs are misunderstood. Because mothering a child with unique needs is a journey that reshapes you, it stretches you, and reveals a deep love that you didn't even know you had. And for Dr. Tanya Manning Yard, that journey began with a moment every mother remembers. The moment she realized something was different and her world shifted. Take a look at this clip.
We've talked about that journey of mothering special needs children. Can you talk about your journey, where it all began for you? Like, when did you first start noticing the signs of your younger son?
It started when he was around 18 months, where he still had not met certain milestones in terms of walking on his own, speaking, and in slight departure when we were looking at like our older son Keith. By
Mm-hmm.
age 2, Keith was already walking by age 1, like running around and everything. And he also demonstrated an interest and aptitude already in writing, wanting to learn how to write, and also reading. So he initially set for us benchmarks around, well, this is what we were expecting our kids to be like, where once Maceo was showing signs of perhaps lagging cognitively and in terms of his motor skills, that's where it
Mm-hmm.
raised concern for us. And we brought those concerns to our pediatrician, who, at first reassured us that, children develop at their own pace. Some may hit their milestones quicker than others.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of just wanted to kind of wait and see. But we decided, and actually it was Kerwin that really, really pushed about, we need to get him tested just to be sure. And that can be a kind of scary place for any parent to be, because like, what happens once we find out the diagnosis, and what do we
Right.
do once we have the diagnosis? So
Right.
needless to say that, and at age 3, Maceo was tested and was diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
as well
Mm-hmm.
as having speech delay. And that is where our journey began. I can share that when we got that diagnosis, you feel like your stomach drop and
Yeah.
the ground and the world fall from underneath your feet. But process is product. And that began our journey of learning to love and support our son on his terms, while also helping to navigate and advocate for his rightful place in this shared world.
Now, where Tanya's journey began with a diagnosis that gave her a roadmap, Tina's began in the dark with no roadmap at all. When her younger foster son returned to her at the age of 5 after witnessing some deep trauma, everything changed. No one told her why, no one prepared her, and no one mentioned reactive attachment disorder, a condition that was later diagnosed. Take a look at these clips.
You didn't experience the rad when he was there the first time when he was
No,
2.
no,
No.
I did not.
Okay. Okay.
So when he came back to me, he had just turned 5. His birthday was January 9th. He came back to me in February, and it was February of 2020. So right after that, February 2020, March 2020 was COVID. And so we were all on lockdown. And so I got to spend 24/7 with both him and Christian, and that's when I started noticing that he was different. Things started happening, that, made me go, that's peculiar. And you don't know whether it's, just a 5-year-old doing 5-year-old things, or if it's something more, so like the first weekend he came home, he put laundry detergent in my furnace, causing the furnace to break down.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah. That was the first thing. Then I started noticing, like, him stealing food and hiding it in his room, um, lying when he knew that I knew the truth. Like he would still lie, like no matter what, he was never going to tell me the truth.
Mm.
Little things like that. Then the behavior started to get a little bit more serious. He would put things in the dog's food. Like, one time he put pepper in his food and I saw like a trail of pepper going from the thing, innocent enough. But then I saw carpet cleaner, in the dog's food.
Oh
So if
no.
the dog had eaten that, that could have been a serious issue. The one that was a little bit more serious, he loves dinosaurs, and so it was COVID. So I was trying to find ways to keep us doing stuff that was fun. And so there was a drive-through dinosaur exhibit in Philly. And so I was like, okay, we're going to love this. So we go to the exhibit and he's looking at all the dinosaurs. He knows them all by name. I mean, I learned so much about dinosaurs. But, he knew them all by name, had a great time. And then that night he comes home and Chris went in to, get him ready for bed, give him a bath, and noticed that his eyes were bleeding. He had literally taken his fingernails and dug them into his eyes to make them bleed. And
Oh.
I didn't understand. So I called DCPA again and I said, hey, something's going on. I don't know what's happening, but something's off. I think he needs a psych evaluation because something is really off. And again, my calls were ignored, at least not to get the psych eval. It's COVID. He can't really get, any appointments right now, blah, blah, blah. That's what I got. And again, the behaviors then started to escalate. So every time something happened, they would escalate.
So how long did you continue in this? Like how long did you keep him, and where is he now?
I think finally they were able to get him put in called a partial hospitalization program. And it took a while to get that because he had to get consent, and the only person that could give consent was his biological father. And at the time, his biological father was not offering consent. And so they had to get consent. So he got into a partial hospitalization program, and it was there that he was diagnosed. There was a clinician who pulled me aside and she started asking me questions. She said, has he ever acted out after having a fun day? And I thought about the day at the dinosaur exhibit when he jammed the fingernails in his eyes. And I said, yeah. I said, we went to a dinosaur exhibit and that night he dug his fingernails into his eyes until he bled. And she said, I believe this is what's called reactive attachment disorder. I want you to go home, research it, come back on Monday so we can talk about what that is. And so I went home and I did a Google search on it and I found the story, A Troubled Child. And that's one
Yes,
of the resources
I
I showed
did.
up there. Yeah.
Yes,
So
and I
so I
and
found
I'll show that. What we
yeah.
can talk about the resources in a second.
Yeah, so I
But I
found
and I
A
did see
Troubled
that
Child.
movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched it and I cried. And I cried because I felt seen for the very first time. I'm not crazy. Like, because at first I thought I was crazy because nobody else was seeing this behavior. This was just me. And so I thought I was crazy. I was the one who didn't know how to parent, a toddler. Like something was wrong with me. And so when I watched The Troubled Child and how, the mother was feeling the same way, like, why is nobody else seeing what this kid is doing to me? I was like, oh my God, I feel seen. And then I went back to, her on Monday to talk. And one thing she said to me was that the nurtured heart approach is the exact opposite thing you want to do with a child with RAD because they're fighting against the love. And so you're trying to be
Oh,
loving and they're fighting you about
that's why he was reacting that way.
it.
Wow.
He was and so they were teaching me something that was literally the opposite of what he needed. And so that was eye opening for us. And so she said, what you need is a RAD therapist, somebody that actually knows what RAD is, who understands what you have to do with them. And with RAD, you have to have just clear rules, clear boundaries, and that's that. Like it's not about being overly loving or trying to, calm them down. Just very clear. No, you can't do that. And
Their episode was our most popular episode. It had over 30,000 views. So many mothers could relate to their situations, and both Tanya's and Tina's journey encouraged mothers and fathers to keep going and to keep fighting and advocating for their extraordinary child or children. Next came a story of a sister's love. Not the easy kind, but the kind that was proven through sacrifice. A love so deep it gave life and kept giving, even when the cost was everything. Take a look at this clip from the next episode, A Sister's Love of Sacrifice and Renewal, with my guest, Crystal Brooks. We talked about how it was when you were younger, your relationship with your brother. We talked about also some of the things that you encountered, what he encountered after the kidney donation. But what about your health challenges? I know after he passed in May of 2006, in December, you also were diagnosed with kidney failure. How did you process that news?
Scared. I was very scared.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to the doctor more, but I was ducking my doctor and I was canceling my doctor's appointments because I didn't want to go. I knew he
Mm,
already told me my kidneys was working at like 30% and I would need
okay.
dialysis eventually, very soon. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to listen to that. But
Right.
December 2006, I was working at the Board of Education. I was paraprofessional for kindergarten at the time.
Hmm.
And we had a Christmas party. And my doctor called me on my phone and he told me that I need to get to the hospital like now. He said my blood
Mm,
work is terrible and I need dialysis today. So
mm,
at that time, I knew it, but I didn't want to go. I was going up and down the stairs doing copies for my teacher, and I can feel it in my chest, like I couldn't breathe, but I didn't want to
mm,
go to the hospital. Eventually, I told my teacher I had to leave because my blood work is horrible. My doctor told me I need to go to the hospital. At that time, Tyshawn was in the second grade, so I had to
mm,
go get him out of school. Me, my mom, and Tyshawn. I think my dad went. I'm not sure, but I went up to St. Barnabas and they had to
hmm.
do emergency surgery on me. So I had to have dialysis through my growing area because I
Yeah.
didn't have my graft in my arm at the time. So they had
Right.
to do it like that. And I was in a hospital for about 2 weeks. After that, I felt better. After I had the treatment, I actually felt better. I didn't want to
Right.
face it though. So everything was fine after that. Then I just started going to dialysis.
Right. And speaking of that, and this was the most recent challenge, we had your health crisis in 2023. I think that I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like that was like your most challenging year when you started to feel the gangrene. You started like your feet started to get darker, and you realized that it was gangrene. I have this picture here. And I have to warn everyone as we start to share our images, they may be a little graphic. So if you just want to listen to the audio, that's fine. But this is part of Crystal's journey. And this is what she experienced as she continued on in her life in 2023. So do you see this picture?
Yes, I see it.
So what happened here?
This was when I was in a hospital. So when I
Hmm.
was at home, it wasn't this bad. One of my feet, I thought I got burnt because it was burning. So I went to
Hmm.
St. Barnabas, because I thought I got burnt, but St. Barnabas said it's not a burn. So I left. They discharged me and I left. And I think I went to the hospital and it just started getting darker and darker overnight and it was hurting so bad and
Yeah.
it was to the point where I couldn't take it no more. So when I finally got to I went back to St. Barnabas and St. Barnabas told me that I need to be admitted. They never told me why. They said something is going on with your feet and you need to be admitted.
Right.
So I said okay. But as time went on, it got darker and darker. The doctor told me that it was gangrene.
Mm,
He said it was gangrene and I would have to get my feet amputated. That was the first one. And
right.
I can't really remember everything, but
Yeah.
it was like it was getting darker and darker every morning. I woke up and it got worse.
Right. Right. So I see it looks like it started with your left, and then the right started to develop that as well, and that's what these pictures are.
It's
They're
really
the
bad.
pictures of your right foot starting to go through the same thing your left foot had went through.
Mm-hmm.
There's looking back, all this stuff that you've been through, would you still have made that same decision to donate your kidney?
If it was my
Yeah?
brother, yes. If it was my mom, yes. Or Tashawn, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would have done it again. Just to
Wow.
try to give that gift of life. I would want
Wow.
them to live a longer life. So yes,
Beautiful.
I would have did it again.
Crystal's story reminded us that God uses ordinary people in extraordinary ways, especially within our own families. Sometimes the greatest calling isn't public, it's personal. And love, when led by faith, can leave an eternal imprint. And then the episode that moved us all, a sacred reminder that survival is not the end of the story, healing is. Survivors of healing, faith, and hope wasn't just an episode, it was a testimony of women who walked through abuse, illness, and silence, and emerged with faith, purpose, and power. Evangelist Veronica Miles, a survivor of domestic violence, shared how God transformed years of abuse, addiction, and silence into healing, freedom, and purpose. Her testimony showed us that when shame is broken, healing begins. And when truth is spoken, generations can be changed. Take a look at this clip.
I accepted defeat. I accepted the pain. I had a lot of pity parties. I drank. I smoked. You know, I did drugs. You know, everything to try to numb me to the pain that I was feeling because I didn't want to face my reality. With me, my self-esteem was low because of the name calling, the abuse, the verbal abuse that tore me down and broke me down and made me lose my confidence. You know, and who I really was. So those things is what I told my daughters. Hey, listen, you are special. You know, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you know, and God desires that, you know, that you have a good life and that you prosper and that you be happy. So it was important for me to instill the word of God in them to help them to be able to not accept um, their relationship and the abuse that they were going through as the norm.
And then there was Aisha's testimony, where she faced one of life's toughest battles of cancer, not just once, but multiple times. And instead of allowing pain to define her, she turned it into purpose, faith, and hope. Take a look at her clips.
Fast forwarding 10, 11 years after that second episode, I get a lump in my breast. So I'm just like, every decade I'm getting like, what in the world, you know? And so I think it did make me pause and start questioning God, my faith, like what is going on here, you know? And
Right.
yeah, so the breast cancer, I think that was like the last straw for me. And I remember I did break down. I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, I really was seeking God's face, like a whole nother level. And you don't get that unless you're going through fire. And I don't know if you understand what I mean by that, but yeah,
I do.
it's a difference between,
do.
you know, just praying to God and going to church and doing all those things. And, you know, you have a relationship. But when your faith is tested and tried by fire, it's a whole another level. So yeah, my faith, I can say, stood the test. Stood the test.
Right.
Regardless of what the doctor's report said, it stood the test. You know,
Right,
regardless of
right.
what my body was going through. And yes, you get tired. Yes, you get tired of the surgeries. Yes, I felt like I was a push pin, like like my whole body's just like marked up. I mean, like, you know, and how could you not think about Jesus being crucified and all that he did on the cross? And so that's what I used as my reflective moment you know,
Right.
and I started embracing the scars. Like Jesus had scars, I got scars. And it's part of
Right.
my testimony. And this is why I say I'm not a survivor. I conquered. I said, these are scars of a conqueror. And just like Jesus conquered the cross, he conquered all of that. He endured the shame. He endured all of the things that he had to go through. And that's why I use that as my motto: conquer your journey. That's what Be Lymphatic is about. Hope, health, and healing to conquer your journey. You're not just surviving. We are conquerors, meaning that we defeated it. We didn't just survive. No, we fought it and we prevailed.
This wasn't just an episode. It was a movement. It was a declaration. And it was a reminder that healing is also holy. Now, before we move into our next segment, I want to pause and honor every woman who lent her voice, her testimony, and her journey on this show, because this platform was never about episodes. It was about women who were willing to show up with honesty, courage, and heart. Tonight, we highlighted a few powerful moments, but every woman who stepped into this space throughout the year left an imprint that cannot be erased. So let me first start by honoring health and fitness expert Gail Olivia White Everett from episode 1, who courageously shared how her personal pain and grief became the very foundation of her mission, reminding us that healing often begins when we decide to help someone else rise. And also our 3 extraordinary women, Ty Davis, Nicole Brookins, and Carla Cherry from episode 7. These extraordinary women whose poetry didn't just speak words, but released healing, unity, and truth, proving that language can be medicine for the soul. Then there's the financial expert, Angela Brock, from episode 10. She challenged us to shift our mindset, break limiting beliefs, and take intentional steps towards freedom, not just financially, but spiritually. And then there's our 3 dynamic entrepreneurs, Allie Davis, Beverly Brister, and B. Nelson from episode 11. These 3 women were building businesses with purpose, creating legacies, and showing us that success can be rooted in faith, integrity, and service. And to every woman who shared their story, whether seen tonight or felt throughout the year, your courage shaped this season. Your voice mattered. Your testimony made a difference. This is the heart of this show. And if you've been blessed by these voices tonight, consider joining us next year on our IBP monthly chat. It's a space for authentic conversations, healing, prayer, scriptures, and support. Take a look at this promo.
Do you ever feel like you're carrying life's weight on your shoulders? At the IBP monthly chat, you don't have to do it alone. This is your space. A space where real women come together to share, connect, and encourage each other. Whether you're navigating challenges, seeking clarity, or simply craving authentic connection, the IBP monthly chat is where faith and friendship meet. We meet virtually on Zoom, and each session is a safe place to open your heart and discuss God's word as it relates to our lives. Here, you'll find strength, understanding, and the reminder that you are never alone. Scan the QR code to subscribe and be notified of our next session. Let's grow together, one conversation at a time.
Hello and welcome back to the Invisible but Powerful Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Kiner, and I'm here with our final episode year in review, talking about different journeys, different battles, but also different breakthroughs. One question brought us together, and that question was, in 1 to 2 words, what does invisible but powerful mean to you? What followed were not just answers, but reflections of healing, resilience, impact, faith, and quiet strength. Here are their voices. Take a look at these clips.
God's blessings. God's blessings. When I've had the chance to come on the chat, and I'm going to do it more, it just was so beautiful to be with you and the people on the chat and just listen to other people share and, Bible verses. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a blessing from God. God's blessings. Invisible but powerful. It's beautiful.
This is one word: Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Just by calling on the name of Jesus.
Expound more on what that means in regards to invisible but powerful.
Because he's here. He's always here. It's us that don't either want to believe, but he's always here for us. And he's always here to help us. And he gave us the Holy Ghost, but he is so powerful that just by believing in him, believing that he is, believing that he can help, that is so powerful in and of itself. And this invisible but powerful ministry, Jesus, he's attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
He created all of it for
Right.
us to be able to tell others
Faith.
about it.
Faith. Because my whole life it's been faith. I trust in God, having faith in him. That's my one word, faith. Because without it, it's impossible to please him. And right now, my journey is to continually please him with the life that he's given me. Because without him, I am nothing. And without having faith in him that night when I asked for him to save me, I wouldn't see my sons grow. I wouldn't see my grandchildren. One just turned the youngest one just turned 9 last week, and Jackson, he just turned 14. I wouldn't have never seen any of this, and it's a blessing. You know, I mean, they're stretched out from Texas to Jersey, but faith. I believe, I have faith in him wholeheartedly. He has healed my body in certain ways you just don't know, but it's faith.
It means that everybody has a story that can help someone else. That's what
true.
it means. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And how do you see that as something that's invisible but powerful?
For me, well, one, I know that my story's still being written. You know, my son, Bob, it's still being written. But I saw, like, everything that I've been through has been able to allow me to help someone else. When I had my miscarriages, I was able to create, I believe, the support group for women so that they can be encouraged and work and, believe that they were going to have their children. When I lost my husband, I had people come to me and, being encouraged and need help. How did I navigate this? How did I get through this? When I became a foster mom, there were people that had questions like, how did you become a foster mom? How did you navigate this? What about that? And now that I'm finding love again, that's still questions that, and so if I can find a way to help encourage somebody else, because a lot of people, especially my social media followers and friends, they've seen where I was and they see where I am now. And I've had people reach out to me and say, your life encourages me. Because if you can make it, I can make it.
What does invisible but powerful mean to you? And you can say it in one word, 2 words. What does it mean to you?
God. God is invisible, but he's very powerful.
Yeah.
This is where it started from. The earth. It started from God. He put powerful things inside of our bodies. Like, it's powerful.
Okay, 1 or 2 words. We want to talk offline about that question. I would say resilience and steadfastness. Mm-hmm. That's what that phrase means to me. Yes.
Okay. All right. Resilience and steadfastness, and that's a reflection of your journey.
I would say hidden but seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hidden but seen. Okay, is that a reflection of you? Is that a reflection of your business?
I would say both. You said 2 words, but I would just say Psalms. I think it's Psalms 139, where it talks about you have searched me and you know me.
Oh yes.
You know when I sit. You know when I stand. The Lord discerns my thoughts from afar and are acquainted with all of my ways. So even though I may be hidden, I may feel invisible, I am seen, and that makes me powerful.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, for me, it means meekness. And meekness is not to be confused with weakness, but power under control. And
you said meekness should not be...
Meekness, not to be confused with weakness, because meekness is not weakness, it's power under control. And I think that the person that is invisible yet powerful is someone who is able to lead but doesn't have to. Someone who's willing to sit back and watch and assist where they see possible leadership might need assistance, but also can take on that role themselves, but don't feel like they need to be in the spotlight to do that. Then rather just kind of help in the background, right? Like, I can do it, but I don't have to, and I'll be willing to teach someone else to do it.
Operating in stealth mode. And I like to actually operate in stealth mode because you don't see me coming and you don't expect it, but it's powerful when the action comes out.
To me, I would say that it means that when people don't see all the hard work, sacrifices, and faith behind the scenes, it still matters to you. That's what it is, and it still makes an impact, whether it's small, like I said, through a mill, or if you're able to, I don't know, do more than that. But it's still an impact. I would say power isn't always loud, but it's always felt. That's what I had to learn.
Invisible is something but powerful, unseen, but a force. You can see it. Thank you, God. But it's effective. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to add more to an unseen but a force.
Wow, that's a good question. 1 to 2 words. Okay, let's see what we have. Faith and strength. I'll use those 2.
Faith and strength. Okay.
Yeah, because faith is, again, something you don't see, and strength is related to the power of God within us, and the power that we possess to walk by faith, not by sight.
All right, so you just heard what invisible but powerful means to so many of these incredible women. And in all of this, I realized that I never shared with you what invisible but powerful means to me. And it's only because God just recently revealed it to me. So, to me, invisible but powerful means silent revolution. Because the deepest transformations are invisible. They don't make noise. They happen in the heart. Quiet healing, restoring faith and rebuilding strength until one day a woman wakes up and realizes that she's no longer broken, bound, or invisible. A silent revolution is the most powerful kind because it can't be stopped. You can't argue with a healed woman. You can't silence restored faith. And you can't undo what God rebuilds from the inside out. That's what invisible but powerful means to me. Silent revolution. As this episode comes to an end, I want to say thank you to every viewer, to every guest, to every supporter. You've all made this year so special and so meaningful. And next year, we're going even deeper into purpose, healing, and transformation. So if this spoke to your heart, help us spread the message. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a message or an episode of healing, inspiration, and encouragement. Now, don't forget, after this episode, meet us on Zoom for a beautiful live conversation with some of the women whose stories we've honored. And it's also your chance to ask questions and to reconnect. And now, after all of that depth, honesty, and emotion, I want to show you the part that no one usually sees. The early mornings, the late nights, the prayers, and the weeks of preparation. This is the work behind the calling. And somewhere in the middle of all of this seriousness and behind every deep interview, there were technical glitches, mic mishaps, background interruptions, and scenes that just didn't go as planned. But despite of all of those mishaps, there were also moments of laughter that made it all worth it. Here's a glimpse behind the scenes. Now, Giselle, I'm sorry. Uh-oh.
It's okay.
What happened?
Can you hear me? Did I lose you?
I think I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think what happened is my camera got too hot. Hold on. It up. What's number one is what? The first one is to what?
Listen, you wanna go back and I have no idea. you know, you're going to roll the tape. I honestly have no idea.
Okay, so let's think about what you said, right? So
Can't wait to see you edit this one. I don't know. Thank you, Holy Spirit.
I probably won't.
Yeah, discourse. Lots of.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Hey,
I'm so sorry. I come early for everything, and I apologize. So I was like, I saw y'all. I thought you had to let me in. I apologize.
Mindful Times.
21.
Before I kind of get into what I read. Oh, hold on 1 second. Hi, Carla. You're really early. I can't hear you. But can you call back? Can you call back around 7:30ish? Okay, all right. Thanks. And also you have a website, carlacherryboxpoet1.com. And okay, you can talk about it.
Sure. So the website is www.carlacherrybxpoet1.com.
Is it BX?
Yes, it's BX. I was looking, I was like, oh, wait, listen, no. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, and may God continue to bless you.
Beautiful. We'll talk again.
Absolutely. Why? Cut the. I'm gonna just let me.
I hope you enjoyed those clips as much as I did. Thanks again for watching. Have a safe and blessed new year. And as always, continue to be blessed and a blessing.
Thank you for spending this time with us on the Invisible but Powerful Show. We'd love to connect with you beyond the show. Follow us on Facebook at Invisible but Powerful Ministries, on Instagram at IBP Ministries, and subscribe to our IBP Ministries YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Until next time, remember to uncover, unlock, and unleash the potential within you. Walk boldly in who and whose you are.